Cheltenham shows. Alan Quinlan's going to be in studio with us next here on OTB AM. First, here's Sarah O'Donovan on yesterday's Sunday Papers podcast reacting to England's Joe Marler groping Alun Wyn Jones during their Six Nations clash on Saturday.
Alwyn Jones protested at the time. The match officials didn't look at it, and obviously it got lots of coverage on Twitter. I saw lots of tweets and people saying, do you go to work and get assaulted? Because that's essentially what happened. It's a physical contact that wasn't warranted. That's an assault. Now, I didn't realise until after that World Rugby actually has a sanction for it, and it's 12 to 24 weeks. And looking at it yesterday and looking at it, it wasn't ambiguous, it didn't happen in a ruck, it was very public and it was very obvious.
It was almost, I thought it was kind of done, it was kind of flaunted, like it was, he was kind of looking in the, he seemed to be aware there was a camera looking over at this and...
Yeah, like it was like psychological warfare, right? And if that's what you're bringing to the game as a player, and that's all you have to offer, I think that's really naive. I suppose there's a 12 to 24 week punishment for this, and I think he should get the book thrown at him. I think it just should be completely stamped out. It is an assault. Nobody should go to work and get assaulted. And I was really, really disappointed yesterday when Alwyn Jones had to speak about it at the press conference. And I
was really impressed with the way he spoke about it. Yeah.
But he also tried to defend Joe's character, and I think from my mind it was probably in an effort to make it go away, because if he is negative in the press conference towards Joe, then it runs for another 3 or 4 days, and I think he tried to shut down the story rather than exploit it.
Alan Quinlan's with us. We'll talk about England, and I want to talk about how they're refereed and how they seem to be fairly leniently refereed again. But Joe Marler, Owen, you made the point earlier on that you think Joe Marler and the coverage of Joe Marler needs to be ramped up a bit here, that he needs to be suspended for this. Yeah,
I just want the reaction to it very strange, Quinny. The kind of talk about him not doing physical damage to an opponent misses the point spectacularly, and the whole idea of him playing up to the cameras is the actual point of why he did that. Like, he's going out to humiliate and make an opponent feel like a piece of dirt in the ground by what he did. Like, the whole point is that the world is watching. I'm going to laugh in your face. I'm going to do something that I know will infuriate you so much, but you can't swing back at me. I think it is just the lowest of the low. You'd almost prefer to get a box off a fella on a rugby pitch than what Joe Marler did to you, because it is pathetic, really. And, like, I don't think we even need to debate about whether it is right or wrong. When you look at Alun Wyn Jones' reaction Saturday night, Alan, like, the guy was clearly unbelievably upset about this.
Yeah, I'm divided on it. I think, obviously, it shouldn't have happened and it's wrong. I think, and I do respect people's opinion as regards yours, and I looked at a lot of stuff on social media over the weekend since it happened. I think he was obviously messing. I don't think it was he knows Alun Wyn Jones pretty well. They would have played in the lines together. So I don't think he's doing it to try and we were chatting about it earlier, I do take the point from you, Jared, that if Alun Wyn Jones punches, is he trying to get Alun Wyn Jones to punch him? I think he's messing. That's my thought on it. I'm very open to being challenged on that.
And fair enough, right? So here's the issue.
Even though I think it's wrong.
Lads groping another man or a woman, and a big crowd laughs at the groper, going, look at you, you know?
Yeah.
It's just grim.
I fully understand that. And it is...
Like, it's a grim part of lad culture.
People are saying sexual assault.
But okay, so there's a lot of emotive language around that, right? And I saw people joking about that. So whether you use sexual assault or you don't, right? But it's the whole, we're going to grope now, like... It's not an acceptable look, and it's
not. But we're not babies either, Ger.
But you can't grope people.
It depends. You can't. But
so the whole point of groping is to humiliate. It's what lads have been doing to women for generations, and here's Joe Marler doing it, and now the rugby lads are all going, it's no big deal.
No, I don't think...
That's the problem. I think rugby has a real problem with this, and you put this with all the other shit that rugby's done over the last 18 months, and you go, rugby culture's pretty toxic, I think.
You can, look, there's obviously been a number of things that are very, very strong issues around rugby, but there's a lot of good stuff in rugby as well, Ger. And
why are they all defending Joe Marler? Why are people defending this?
I think I'm talking from a player's point of view. Maybe I need to kind of step out of it. Obviously, I'm not a player anymore. I think that, here's my take on it. He should have been yellow carded. He should get a serious rap in the knuckles, and it should never happen again on a rugby field that it's deemed okay to do that. Okay, so I agree with you on that point, but I just think it's a bit of he's acting a clown. I don't think he deserves a 12-week ban for it. I do think it deserves to be addressed, and he needs to come out maybe and apologise or whatever for it. But I don't think a guy deserves 12-week ban for that.
He doesn't think he needs to apologise, though. His tweet yesterday, bollocks.
Yeah, well,
bollocks.
that doesn't help the situation. So at least if you come out and say something, look, it was a bit of crack, I shouldn't have done it. I understand that there's people watching here who can be offended by this. Some people are not offended by it. A lot of people are offended by it. I think it's a bit of messing, and I think it's... I'm not that strong in it, John. I can't tell you I am when I'm not. I can't go with the opinion, which seems to be the vast majority of people are offended by it, and they say that it's wrong, and that I think it's not a big issue.
There's an attitude towards groping. It speaks to me to an attitude towards groping where it's just a bit of a laugh, but actually
I know, but there's an attitude towards everything now in society.
Yeah, but we should
get offended by everything.
But
I understand there is issues, and particularly the ones you mentioned there. There is issues in society, and there is bullying, and there is sexual assaults.
Well, where does rugby stand on all this? It's like, look, it's
no.
Just a bit
I don't think it should be just it's grand. I think it should be addressed. But I'm talking about the punishment.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't deserve 12 weeks.
Why not though? Like either you stand for this or you don't. Is kind of.
I don't think he deserves a 12-week ban. I think he deserves to get a rap. Yeah, but the most balanced view I saw on this was from Jonathan Kaplan, this former South African referee. He said that, look, in his opinion, and I agree with him, that you get a severe suspension for doing something like that with force and trying to deliberately hurt somebody. He's messing. It's not in the spirit of the game, for sure, but I agree with that.
I think that goes back to Owen's point. That misses the whole point about groping.
This is the point. It's not it's not a sexual assault, lads. It's not. He's not trying to intimidate. He's messing with somebody. He shouldn't have done it. And the problem is, he should have come out and said, "Look, hands up. I shouldn't have done that." He's been doing stuff like that in the field before, having banter with people, spraying James Haskell with water, all that kind of stuff.
Quite different.
It is, yeah.
But just on the whole people getting offended thing, like, I'm not offended by that. Like, I'm not saying, shield my eyes from this terrible thing.
It's wrong.
I actually felt really sorry for Alun Wyn Jones. When I saw I actually, if you said this to me on Saturday evening, I'd be like, grand, fair enough, you're probably right. You've seen, you're inside the dressing room, all that sort of stuff. It was listening to Alun Wyn Jones on Saturday night, clearly really upset about what happened. Like, that's the point where I'm like, actually, no, that's unacceptable. Like, how would you feel if you walk into the dressing room around the lads and you're after being groped by somebody out on the pitch? You feel like half the man you are.
No, I wouldn't, Owen. I'll be honest with you. If that happened to me, I would laugh about it. And more often, if he did it deliberately, I can only say what I feel. Yeah. If he did it deliberately to me at the bottom of a ruck, I'd try and punch the head off him.
Exactly.
Doing it that way, I would laugh at it.
I personally don't see the difference.
I would. So you don't see the difference of someone deliberately grabbing you by the balls in a match and actually hurting you, as opposed to somebody doing it messing?
I think that actually it's a little bit more snide. I think that knowing that the cameras are there, you almost know that this fella can't touch me. If you do it at the bottom of the ruck, you're like, well, I'm going to pay the consequence for this, because this fella's going to swing at me. He knew for a fact that Alun Wyn Jones couldn't touch him, which I think makes it more pathetic.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think he did it in a way to try and get that big reaction of Alun Wyn Jones. I think he did it messing, because he thought Alun Wyn Jones was involved in the row and stuff like that. It's wrong. I want to make it clear. It's wrong. But I'm speaking, probably being the player out there who
I think
wouldn't pull any punches myself in certain situations, and I would have been physical and stupid at times in a rugby field, and I've never done anything like that. It's kind of like pinching someone, isn't it, or doing some bit of... I deemed it as more messing than actually being nasty. I actually take more, and what angers me more is what Owen Farrell did to George North, slapping him in the face like that when he lost the ball. That stuff and that kind of jeering annoys me more. As I said, lads, I can't tell you this is how I feel about it. And it's not. No, it's not. And I do respect your. It is what you're saying is very relevant. That you can't set a precedent to say this is okay. It's not okay. I want to make that clear. But I'm just talking about the severity, the punishment.
Well, I think if you don't ban him, you are saying it's okay.
Okay,
so that's
but
the thing,
we haven't
right?
seen much of this, or we haven't seen it.
No,
I've never seen that.
So stamp it out.
So no.
Stamp it out. 12 weeks,
okay,
no one does it again.
But I think...
Yeah. Isn't that the...
I think you can do it in a way
by
highlighting it that it's wrong through World Rugby, and maybe giving him 2-week ban or a couple of weeks ban, but you can't do that because the lowest entry point is 12 weeks. So it's either 12 weeks, which would be reduced maybe down to 6 for mitigating factors. But look,
In fact, I think there's a thread of similarity in terms of the whole taunting thing. I think there was definitely an element of taunting about it. You know, the sort of area being wound up so much and somebody's rubbing your face in it. I think that there was definitely an element of comparison there. I don't think that they're in the same ballpark, but I get what you're saying on that front in terms of...
Yeah, it shouldn't have happened, Owen. And I you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I didn't take... If I was in that situation, I'd be trying to... You know, I wouldn't be kind of in a position of going, I'm going to punch the head off him, because I think he was messing. If I thought he was trying to hurt me or actually degrade me or actually to get me to react, then I would be running after him around the field. In the heat of the moment, maybe I was a lunatic at times in the field, so maybe I would have went crazy. I don't know, but sitting back looking at it, that's what I think.
Okay.
I think it needs to be addressed, but not the severe punishment that people are calling for.
Okay, I want to talk about Owen Farrell. I think Owen Farrell's getting refereed the way that Richie McCaw was refereed. Because he's captain, he seems to be getting away with stuff that nobody else getting away with. He should have been yellow carded for the George North thing. He was when Wales made a break down the left wing and he ends up on the wrong side and gets penalised for it and is given out to the referee, and you're like, oh, he's complaining to the referee, what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to get out of the way. Your job is to make an effort to get out of the way. Otherwise, it looked to me like a clear professional foul. And then there was a third thing, which I can't even remember now.
He pushed Dan Bigger in the back. That was very clear. It wasn't picked up.
Stick it up on the big screen. Oh, it's Twickenham.
He also was involved in a high tackle, so he gave away 4 penalties in the first half.
Not a hint of a yellow card.
Owen Farrell is a wonderful player, and he plays right in the edge. And that, you look at Sexton, Bigger, Farrell, similar traits. That's a little bit of spark in them. They're physical, they're aggressive, they're in your face. There's a fine line, you know, crossing it. Farrell is captain. So, as I said, the George North thing was the one that I think should have been a yellow card for that. That kind of stuff has to be taken out of the game. It's the jeering, it's the slapping guys in the head, it's screaming, shouting at players. Eddie Jones said this at the start, the brutality thing before France, all that. England are pushing it right to the edge. They're in the last 2 games between Ireland and Wales, both referees were very, very poor as regards that physicality, that cheating, that illegality. They're a wonderful side, England, and they're a very, very powerful, dominant side. And they're getting to the place now where they're actually, they're using their presence and that kind of, I suppose, in-your-face type attitude to kind of spook the referees a little bit. Ben O'Keefe was really poor the other day, and I thought that some of his decisions and the coaching around the breakdown, there was Welsh players got into really good positions to try and poach the ball, force a penalty, and he's coaching guys to leave hands away and roll away and get out, and it's too much of that's going on. But there was a couple of issues there. There was, and now let me say, Hadley Park should have been yellow carded in the second half for the tackle on Manu Tuolangi. He's coming across, shoulder in the head. It should have been a yellow card. Tuolangi's one on George North. Again, people are saying it's not a red. Most of them are English people online. It's a red. It's a clear red.
Stonewall.
It's a dangerous,
it's a long suspension.
Dangerous tackle. There's force in it. If he brings his arm up and has the same diving movement, it's understandable that you're doing everything in your power to stop him, which Eddie Jones is trying to say, what could he do differently? He could bring his bloody right hand up and at least attempt to wrap. His arm is down here. He missed George Forbes. He clipped off his head. He could have killed the guy. And if that's more important than Joe Marler grabbing Alun Wyn Jones's balls, in my opinion, that is the thing that needs to be spoken about and needs to be addressed. He's a serial offender here, Manu Tuolangi. He's a nice fella off the field, but most of the Pacific Islanders that I've played against or known are the nicest people you could ever meet off the field. And they're dangerous. They can be dangerous on the field, particularly with the high shots. And he didn't bring up his arm in any way.
So he deserves a long ban? He
deserves a ban, for sure, definitely. And Eddie Jones should be spoken to, or definitely World Rugby need to come out and actually, if you do that in the football, they get fined and suspended. He's saying that there was 16 men against 13. Ellis Genge got sent off. And I think going back to the captaincy and the Owen Farrell thing, Ben O'Keefe calls out Owen Farrell before he gave the yellow card. He gave him 5 different examples of penalties, and Owen Farrell was kind of, oh, can you be more specific? They knew damn well. They're a very, very cynical side, England, and that's coming from a cynical player. I admire it in some ways, but if you're playing against it, you don't, and they're very, very good at it. The referee was poor, but they were the talking points of Joe Marler thing, Tuolangi and obviously Eddie Jones.
All right, well, look, we're out of time, but luckily there's no actual rugby to talk about for the next...
Don't be ganging up on me again, the two of you.
You can take it. That's it for us this morning here on OTB AM. Stay tuned, our Cheltenham preview show with Thanks to Paddy Power is up next.